The New York Herald newspaper was a daily newspaper that was published from 1835 to 1924 and was one of the first papers established in the penny press movement. This meant the amount of news varied with how much advertising was sold, and the newspaper was sold for 1 penny compared to 6 pennies, so it was more accessible to middle-class citizens. The first issue was published by James Gordon Bennett Sr., and it became the U.S.'s most popular and bought newspaper by 1845. 1842 was when the New York Herald was first digitized. We will explore what the newspaper looked like during this time period with the front page issue from January 17, 1942. At this time, it looked like they tried to fit in as much information on the front page as it is very text heavy, has a small font, and there is very little white space at all. There are no illustrations besides little graphics of steamboats, and the ratio of editorial to advertisements is about 1-to-1, with ads taking up around 1/3 of the front page. This is the New York Herald issue from April 9th. You can already see a major difference between this 1865 front page and the previous 1842 issue from the big map illustration of Mobile Bay and Spanish Fort. This front page has no advertisements, but the whole page is dedicated to talking about the events of the American Civil War. The layout is a little cleaner as a few different fonts are used for headers, and the illustration is more visually appealing than all text, but the font appears smaller with so much text that it is still overwhelming. What's nice about this front page, though, is that there's headlines of major stories on the left, making it easier to view the news quickly. With the December 7, 1879 issue, we see a lot more variety on the front page. While there are no graphics or illustrations, there are big headers for the advertisements made from the letters that spell out the words. This catches the reader's attention and allows for more white space. The reader can easily find what ads are in this paper and information if they are interested based on the headers. This paper has no stories, but all advertisements. What's different about this front page is that on the left column, it alphabetizes keywords and mentions what page the topic is discussed on, so readers can easily find the stories they're interested in. There's also a personal section that takes up 1 to 5 lines, and people can directly write to others in the newspaper. Our final front page from January 31st, 1920 sees the most evolution of the 4 papers. It is primarily advertisements, and there's no news besides the memoriams, deaths, and lost and found. The advertisements featured on this front page take up much more space, and overall, this newspaper is the most visually appealing with hierarchy, white space and spacing, outlines, different fonts and sizes, and illustrations for some of the ads. This paper is easier to follow, but there's no actual stories. This is the only front page out of the 4 that has even columns on one side, but one ad on the right side takes up half the page.